So let me first introduce our guests who are not our Newslaundry regulars. Anurag Minus Verma, we will get to why it's minus. Also joining us is Nirupama Subramanian, Advocate General Anand, Manisha Pande, Raman, Kirpal, Editor-in-Chief, and I'm Abhinandan, Sekhri. And after a long time, all the participants of Hafta are in our studio. No one is joining us virtually.
Great. It's lovely.
I think last time this happened was maybe 3 months ago. So thank you to our guests for coming to the studio. मैं मुझे तो थोड़ा ऐसा रहता है ब्रिक्स चलो गैंग बनाते हैं. अच्छा क्या करें गैंग? वो देखेंगे गैंग तो बना लो पहले.
So you know it is. So you're right. It is.
It is that. हम क्या कर सेवा करेंगे? हम क्या जूडो से खाएंगे? हम क्या चोरी चकारी करेंगे? हम क्या करेंगे? वो देखेंगे गैंग बना लो.
You know, the Modi written a poetry book.
Our Prime Minister?
Notes, letters from self, something like that.
Yeah.
Letters from self.
Okay,
I think he read out from it in one of the interviews, if I remember.
Yeah,
one interview there.
He basically wrote it in Gujarati, then it was translated.
I see. Okay.
So once I read out a poem in his voice that far away from the moon, the horizon have come. So that became so viral. Like also, obviously, there is also that whole thing about getting arrested or whatever. That factor is also there.
That little thing.
That factor is also there. So now, like, that whole viral thing gives me more anxiety than the pleasure. So I start
I mean, I'm no Vivek Agnihotri expert in body language that I can say what Modi was thinking when he and G were. But Modi is not himself with G. It's clear when they're together. The Modi has a certain swagger, a certain, when he talks to my friend Anand and all that. It's very, my friend Barack, it's very different. His body language, his confidence. It's
The Chula days are over.
Yeah, and G is also
the whole exchange between India and China was so strange through it.
Only way to escape the beating at that time was if you take private tuition from the teacher. Then only you can have some kind of healthy relationship. It's like paying $8 to Elon Musk so that your account doesn't get suspended.
The Shera. I think it's wonderful that, good triumphed over evil or whatever your definition of good or evil is. But just a custom, you're not... See, I like Lodi because it is just a bonfire. Here, the figure is a humanoid. It's a human being and you're going and setting him on fire. And you're seeing that normalized from a very young age. I think it's a bit warped.
Too much.
Because you normalize in your head.
Like we all go around burning people because we...
No, I'm not saying you go around burning people, but I'm just saying that for a child, they say, "Bachche, chalo, we're going to celebrate." And what? You see that uncle with a beard? Now we'll go set him on fire.
But uncle with a beard going...
But I'm just saying, dude, I think as a custom...
Too much, you're overthinking.
Like the Chinese would say, you're overthinking.
I'm overthinking it, right?
Like the Chinese told India. In India, there's an epidemic of total psychos taking over schools and unleashing terror on students. You just headline, this test I did on Google. Teacher beats student brutally. Just look at the kind of headlines that come. Chandrayaan 3 rover finds sulfur on moon's south.
Yay! We did it!
Oxygen has also been detected.
Yay, Chandrayaan did it. Sulfur has been found. It's amazing. Is the sarcasm obvious? Welcome to Chota Hafta. Now, Chota Hafta is but a small, Chota version of a complete weekly podcast, Newslaundry Hafta. The Newslaundry Hafta is where you get the week's news, what made the headlines, what didn't make the headlines, but the full version is available to subscribers only. And I don't mean YouTube subscribers, although YouTube subscribers are also very welcome, very, very grateful to you, but also to Newslaundry subscribers, the paying subscribers who pay to keep news free. So you can also become a paying subscriber by clicking the subscription link. Now, what do you get if you're a paying subscriber? You get access to all our paywall content, all interviews, podcasts, and importantly, you get access to a full unedited Hafta, where you not only get to hear the week's news, but you get to hear the Newslaundry editors' positions on matters. You get to see their biases, what are their prejudices. It's an exercise in transparency while also informing you, and we have a few quips and jokes and agreements and disagreements thrown in. So listen to the full Hafta, subscribe to Newslaundry, and pay to keep news free. Here we go. So let me start off on this BRICS summit that happened, where we have added so many people, where Prime Minister Modi was telling this one gentleman that we've landed on the South Pole of China.
I think he galti se had a slip of tongue also. He said South China.
China.
Instead of like the moon.
So Nitin Pai, who is I think the founder of Takshila, and he's been on the Hafta. I saw his tweet. It said, BRICS is pointless. Its expansion is the expansion of pointlessness. What do you think of that?
So the main thing about these groups is how you manage your contradictions, how you manage your differences, and how you may still have differences at the end of every summit. But, if you present a united kind of front for some kind of action. Now, BRICS doesn't have much action to speak about, which is where, there is that skepticism about it. And that's a valid skepticism. It was basically these were all supposed to be emerging economies that were going to be really powerful economies in the coming years. But Brazil didn't live up to that to that projection. Russia's also kind of tanked now. South Africa has also not lived up to its potential. So India and China are the only two countries that in the BRICS grouping have lived up to that earlier expectation that these are going to this is how the world is going to shift. For a country like Saudi, which is, having tensions right now with the US, it gives a chance to say, okay, look here, guys. I mean, to Joe Biden, that you didn't care for me when my refineries were being attacked by Houthi rebels from Yemen. I can do my own stuff. I can strut my stuff. I'm powerful enough. There are other groups where I can join.
But are you? Is it just about saying ki bhai dekho, you don't want to invite me to your party, so I'll have my little party. But actually everyone in this party is also dying to be in that party. So we can say we don't care, but do we really not care?
So I think for this grouping, China would definitely want to see it as a counterweight to G7. So, as a counterweight to West. And if you look at the expansion also, I was pretty surprised that Iran and Saudi are in the same group. And I was reading a little bit about how China has been trying to help them mend relationships.
Yeah, so
Argentina also, ally of, again came to help. China came to their help. So the expansion also seems to be driven by China and their heft in the world, that they can get these countries on the same block to counterweight the West.
Correct.
Or G7, which leaves India in a strange position, because I don't think India wants to imagine BRICS as an anti-West or a,
We also got this impression from the media reports that Modi had taken the initiative of, asking, rest of the members that we should have more members. Is it true?
I think most.
No, I think
that's the impression you get from the media reports.
It's more Chinese diplomacy, I think.
I think it's basically China push for the expansion, and India has been kind of cautious about the expansion.
I'd like to remind you to subscribe and pay to keep news free. Our documentary on Monu Manesar, I think, is going to go live this weekend while you're listening to this. I am a little dismayed to note that we did not make our target of 3 lakh, which I thought our subscribers will easily top up. While we are recording this, we are still about 2.5 lakh. 6 lakh is the target, sorry. Do remember, documentaries like this are made with great resources, risk, time. And while the filmmakers have collaborated with us, we're doing the post-production, they've given everything to us, they haven't given us a amount. And we've just figured that this should be an amount that should compensate their months of work of a crew of 3 or 4. So I hope those of you who haven't contributed yet will contribute to the Sena project. And I think, to the best of my knowledge, the Sena project of Ridesh Joshi, Himalayan Blunders, yeah, it is. We are at 3,72,000. The target is 4,35,000. Ridesh spent about 15 days in the mountains. About 5 stories are already up.
Yes.
And you've seen those, and you saw the visuals from Kullu. Ridesh is one of the finest environmental journalists in the country. And because you guys could make this money available, he was able to go, travel, do ground reports, which are increasingly rare, and on environment, to chhodi do. But I hope you guys can top this up. Coming to, this whole education piece, there were some ghastly images and videos that came out of Muzaffarnagar. So whole conversation is opened up about what is the kind of environment that our schools and colleges have. So that is basically what we're discussing. So Anurag, make your point. What do you think this tells us about the general state of education in much of India. And I know you specifically have mentioned small town India
town,
is
yeah,
unique
yeah.
in its attitudes like this.
Small towns and mostly these low schools which have low fees as compared to these schools where fees are high and parents are also from certain backgrounds. So I was just pointing out a certain kind of class background as well in that. So and then the idea of corporal punishment, like I was connecting with my memories. Like there were several form of corporal punishment which started increasing, like some roadies kind of an episode. So that kind of culture was there in certain kind of schools. Obviously in places where fees are high, it might not happen. I don't know much about it, but I'm sure. And the thing was about that in those towns and places where I grew up, the parents often go to the school and say that आप बच्चे को मारते क्यों नहीं? Why are you so lenient?
What I get is that there seems to be suggestion that there is a huge it's like a strict teacher is a bad thing. I'm not sure that's what was intended, but also at a time like this, because when you try to discuss the other extreme, it can appear that you're defending Tripathi, which you're not doing. I think what she did as an isolated incident, it's disgusting. I don't think she deserves to be in a school. She doesn't deserve to be around children. I don't think she deserves to be in a civilized society. I think it's shocking. You gotta have a really warped, sick mind. But the thing is, even children have warped, sick mind, because when we were in school, it was not unusual to, carry out corporal punishments. Like, kids would do to kids worse than what teachers would do to kids. Now, in that environment, the only Ankush was the teacher. And the stricter the teacher, the more scared you are. Now, there's that extreme I find in today's day and age. That may also because uncles feel, "Arey, hamare zamane mein aisa tha." Do you think when something like this happens, that extreme of children are not scared of anything also is a worry, or you don't think that's just an elite cocoon that feels that? Most of India doesn't experience that mollycoddling of children.
My point is making this form of violence as a primary teaching method. So that's where I have problem. Like,
and
this,
do you think that is unique to India small town?
It is very much accepted. Like the kind of images that I saw, that video, that is everyday image in these schools located in these villages or these towns. Because the problem is that when we make teacher as a like a sacred kind of an entity who has all kind of power, then we have to also understand that in these places, these teachers don't come from any kind of formal training in these empathy or like the identity. Their prejudice become much bigger. And the second thing is that teaching for them is not something that they really aspire for. It is for something they might have failed in something, so they are choosing teaching as a job, and they are not really, it's not their first choice.
So there is one thing of corporal punishment. Now my parents went to convent elite schools, and they would say how Irish nuns and brothers cane you, and whatever, caning was normal. This is not caning, or this is madness. You are beating. Why are you beating a student in 4th standard? And these students have injuries. Yeah, they come back home with bruises. You're choking someone. So this is, and I think it's because there is absolutely no bar, no kind of training on how you become a teacher. You need to, I think, be trained behaviorally if you want to be in charge of a school or in charge of a classroom with
their children.
Impressionable age. Yeah. Add to that, I think with this incident, what is troubling is, so psychos have taken over, okay, but they are just going to be psychotic towards everyone. Add to this identity thing that now these people will specifically target or say things about a Muslim or a Dalit.
A lot of, pop sociology would come into it when you discuss this incident. So, I think both in all three incidents, the common factor is that the teacher seems to have proceeded from a sense of, propriety, that she is doing the right thing. Whether it was in Jammu school, okay, why you write a religious slogan on a school board? So the action right, the reaction to it is not right. Also in this incident, why you have not learnt the tables? Action right, but what they are not trained to is
How do you deal with that?
no, they may be having all kinds of stereotypes and prejudices about a community. You cannot take it from them. But in public space, you don't have to do this. That is
So that
missing.
filter is missing.
That
So-
filter is missing.
I was doing a story on midday meal. So I just asked these children if they get midday meal. So they said कि हाँ sir मिलता है. And they showed me the register, and in that register, each one of them had put a thumb impression. 5वीं क्लास के बच्चे थे, तो मैंने कहा यार ये why can't they sign it? So apparently that village was, it belonged to scheduled caste, and the teacher was Pandit Brahman. He ensured that these children never, they are not able to read and write.
And where did he get that message from? From the Mahabharata. That you will take the thumb of the tribal child so that he cannot beat your Kshatriya child. Satvik also has something on lunar mission there. So clearly a lot of criticism I've got on this. I will say I still haven't changed my position. I will explain why in a little bit. But since we've heard our views, I don't know whether Anand was there, let me start with your views. Nirupama and Anurag, you go first. What are you? Let's keep it completely open. Whether it is good, bad, proud, not proud. Did you pop champagne? Did you say, yeah, India's arrived? What is your reaction? Or did you say that, how do you not appreciate go to Pakistan?
No, I think it was a great achievement. Mm-hmm. And I agree with some of the email writers that there's a good boost for science at a time that, the whole business of scientific temper has been undermined so much. At that time, for India to have achieved this is a good achievement. It's a great thing. To put something on the
morale
moon,
boost ho gaya hai
it's a big morale booster for people who believe in science.
There is a dearth of pure science enthusiasts even in the STEM pool in India. So they are either going to engineering or applied field. So moon mission is something that blends both engineering and pure science. So I think that's a good boost. Also, the fuel factor, the mineral exploration, and all there are debates which are not new. When India set up the predecessor of ISRO in 50s and 60s, so the Nehru government was also subjected to a lot of criticism, and Vikram Sarabhai held a lot of consultations, and he came to the conclusion that India is not a country which can afford to not have a space mission.
And I think it's deeply alarming that what tech billionaires are doing to societies and the kind of power they have. Modi ji can keep saying that he stopped the war, but the US government was actually talking to Elon Musk because they needed the Starlink for Ukraine. The guys who are building Web 3.0, this alternative reality that we live in rather than physical, is, computer tech. And Elon Musk's idiotic idea, want to go to Mars, is an idiotic idea. It is a billionaire's zid hai. Ji, meri auqaat hai, main jaunga. Why are those engineers not as wonderful as our ISRO engineers? I'm just asking. Is their pursuit less noble than going to the moon?
Fundamental research versus, I don't know, a bunch of billionaires who are getting together to maybe profited from it, not profit from it, or maybe also a certain sense of vanity in it. I don't think politicians can make the whole Chandrayaan thing to be chest thumping and India has arrived, Amrit Kal. But the fundamental reason for doing it is not vanity. It is driven by pure fundamental research.
The fact that he's appropriated it is different.
The fact that politicians use it and it's become a political thing. And
I just think that the object who is internalizing that vanity is different, but it is vanity nonetheless. Bas, muft mein itna hi milega. For the full uncut podcast, subscribe to Newslaundry and pay to keep news free. The best way to listen to the Hafta and indeed all our podcasts is through the Newslaundry app. You can download the app by clicking on the links given in the show notes. So do download our app and get the best podcast experience. And also pay for news and support a new news media ecosystem that Newslaundry is trying to encourage, where we are accountable to you because we run on contributions that you make. We don't take government ads, we don't take corporations ads, so that news serves the public. Because when the public pays, the public is served. Subscribe to Newslaundry, click on the link in the show notes below, and proudly say, I pay to keep news free.